My name is Chloe, and lately life had started to feel like a never-ending loop. Every morning, I'd wake up to the same alarm, the same gray city sky, and the same sense of exhaustion that never seemed to fade. I needed a vacation, badly. My mind was running on empty, and my body felt like it was made of lead. The stress from work was piling up, and I could feel it in every muscle. My job was a drag, my apartment a shoebox, and the city outside my window never seemed to sleep. The constant noise, the cramped spaces, the endless to-do lists. It was all too much. Even my goldfish looked bored, swimming slow circles in his tiny bowl, as if he too was dreaming of escape. So I started searching for a way out, even if just for a weekend. That's when I found an old farmhouse to rent, way out in the country, far from the city's chaos. The pictures online showed a big porch with a rocking chair, endless green fields stretching to the horizon, and a sky so blue it almost looked unreal. It looked peaceful, like the kind of place where you could finally breathe. I packed my bag with a few essentials, left a note for my neighbor to feed the goldfish, and stepped out of my apartment, determined to leave the noise and stress behind. As I drove out of the city, I rolled down the windows and blasted my favorite playlist. The city skyline faded in my rearview mirror, replaced by winding roads, tall trees, and the promise of open space. When I finally arrived, the house was even better than the photos. It was painted a cheerful yellow, standing out against the green fields like a sunflower in bloom. The red door was bright and welcoming, and the porch looked like the perfect spot to watch the world go by. I could already imagine myself sitting there with a book and a cup of tea. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of old wood and cinnamon, like someone had just baked a pie. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting warm patterns on the floor. The furniture was cozy and mismatched, every chair and cushion telling its own story. It felt like stepping into a grandma's house, safe, familiar, and full of hidden memories. I wandered from room to room, taking in every detail. I saved the best for last, the bedroom. There was a big, soft bed right next to a window that looked out over the fields, promising quiet mornings and gentle sunlight. In the corner stood a tall, ancient closet, its wood worn smooth by years of use. It looked like it held secrets from another time. I flopped onto the bed, grinning like a kid on the first day of summer vacation. For the first time in ages, I felt light. This was going to be the best weekend ever. I could feel it in my bones, a sense of freedom and possibility I hadn't felt in years. I spent the afternoon on the porch, sipping cold lemonade, listening to the distant hum of insects and the gentle rustle of leaves. The world felt slower here, softer. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with fresh country air. It was so different from the city, clean, sweet, and full of promise. As the sun set in a blaze of gold and pink, I felt a deep calm settle over me. The fields glowed in the fading light, and for a moment, everything felt perfect. I leaned back, watching the sky change colors, and thought, I could get used to this. Maybe I'd stay longer than just a weekend. But as the evening shadows grew longer, something in the air shifted. I had no idea how wrong I was, how quickly peace can turn to unease. The peace was about to shatter, and my perfect getaway was about to become something I never expected. That first night, I slept like a log. The silence was absolute. It was the kind of quiet that feels almost unnatural, as if the world itself was holding its breath. No distant traffic, no hum of appliances, not even the wind in the trees. Just a deep, velvety stillness that wrapped around me and lulled me into the best sleep I'd had in years. In the morning, I made pancakes and sat on the porch feeling refreshed. The sun was warm on my face and the air was crisp and clean. I could hear birdsong, the distant lowing of cows, and the gentle rustle of leaves. It felt like I'd stepped into a slower, simpler world, and for a moment I thought I could get used to this. I wandered the fields and woods, loving the solitude, at first. There was a freedom in being alone, in moving at my own pace, with no one to answer to. The landscape stretched out endlessly, and I felt small in the best possible way, like a single note in a vast, beautiful song. But as the day wore on, the quiet felt heavy, almost suffocating. The silence that had been comforting in the morning began to press in on me, thick and unyielding. Every sound I made seemed to echo, as if the house and the land were listening. I started listening for any sound, a car, a voice, anything. But there was nothing. Not even the distant bark of a dog or the whir of a passing plane. It was as if I'd been dropped into a world that had forgotten about people entirely. By evening I was jumpy. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the old house made me start. I found myself glancing at the windows, half expecting to see someone, or something, watching from the darkness outside. I turned on every light, put on music, but the emptiness only grew. The bright rooms felt hollow, the music tinny and out of place. It was as if the house itself was too big for just one person, and the shadows seemed to gather in the corners, just out of reach. I made dinner but couldn't enjoy it. The food tasted bland, and the silence at the table was deafening. I found myself wishing for the clatter of dishes, the sound of laughter, even the annoyance of a ringing phone, anything to break the stillness. I kept glancing over my shoulder, feeling watched. The hairs on the back of my neck prickled, and I couldn't shake the sense that I wasn't as alone as I thought. Later, as I tried to read, I heard it, a faint thump from upstairs. My heart raced. I froze, listening, every muscle tense. Was it just the house settling or something else? Old houses make noises, I told myself. I tried to laugh it off, but my voice sounded too loud in the empty room. But the silence after the thump was worse than the noise itself. It was as if the house was waiting, holding its breath along with me. I tried to focus on my book, but my eyes kept darting to the staircase. Every shadow seemed to shift. Every creak made my imagination run wild. The quiet felt like it was waiting for something. It pressed in on me, thick and expectant, as if the house itself was holding a secret. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. The sense of being watched grew stronger, and I found myself holding my breath, listening for any sign of movement. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. My nerves were stretched thin, every sense on high alert, as if I was bracing for something I couldn't name. And I knew it would. In that deep, endless quiet, I realized that sometimes silence can be the loudest thing of all. I tried to ignore the noise at first, telling myself it was just the house settling or maybe the wind outside. But the longer I sat there, the more impossible it became to pretend nothing was wrong. My curiosity, mixed with a growing sense of unease, finally got the better of me. I crept upstairs, each step creaking loudly beneath my feet, echoing through the silent house. The sound seemed unnaturally loud, as if the darkness itself was amplifying every movement. My heart thudded in my chest, and I found myself holding my breath, straining to hear anything out of the ordinary. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling just enough to betray my nerves. There was no answer, only the quiet hum of the night. The bedroom looked untouched, everything in its place, as if nothing had disturbed it for hours. I checked under the bed, behind the curtains, and in every hidden corner I could think of. Nothing. Not a sign that anyone or anything had been there. The silence felt heavier now, pressing in on me from all sides. I felt a little foolish for being so jumpy, but then my eyes landed on the closet in the corner. It stood there, darker than the rest of the room, almost as if it was waiting for me to notice it. For a split second, I could have sworn the closet door moved. Just a crack, barely enough to notice, but enough to send a chill down my spine. I blinked, unsure if my mind was playing tricks on me. I approached, heart pounding so loudly I was sure it could be heard. My hand shook as I reached out and pushed the door shut, half expecting something to resist from the other side. But it closed with a soft click. The air around the closet felt noticeably colder, as if a draft was seeping out from the cracks. I shivered, rubbing my arms, and tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. I sat on the edge of the bed, trying to shake off the feeling, but the unease clung to me. Every shadow seemed deeper, every sound sharper. I couldn't relax, no matter how hard I tried. That night, I left the hallway light on, hoping the soft glow would chase away whatever was making me so anxious. The light felt like a small comfort, a barrier against the unknown. But every creak of the floorboards made me jump, my nerves stretched thin. I listened for footsteps, for whispers, for anything that might explain the feeling that something was off. I kept thinking about the closet, replaying the image of the door moving in my mind. I couldn't shake the sense that something was still in there, waiting. I pulled the blankets up to my chin, trying to feel safe, but the comfort was thin. My mind raced with possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. In the middle of the night, I woke up suddenly, heart pounding as if I'd been running. The room was pitch black, the silence almost deafening. The room was still, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. It was as if someone, or something, was watching me from the shadows, just out of sight. I stared into the darkness, my heart racing, every muscle tense. I knew deep down that something wasn't right, and I wasn't alone in that room. I lay frozen, eyes wide in the dark. I turned my head toward the closet. Moonlight cast strange shadows. Above the closet, a patch of darkness clung to the ceiling, a stain that hadn't been there before. I blinked, but it stayed. The darkness took shape. It was a face, pale, blurry, with empty eyes and a mouth open in a silent scream. It hovered above the closet, watching me. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move. The face just stared, unblinking, a silent observer. My mind raced for explanations, but I knew this was real. I hid under the covers, shaking, until dawn crept into the room. It was a childish move, but it was all I could do. I waited for morning, praying the face would be gone. But I knew I'd never forget those eyes. Not ever. When sunlight filled the room, I peeked out. The face was gone. The ceiling above the closet looked normal. Relief washed over me. Maybe it was just a nightmare. But the fear clung to me, cold and real. I touched the spot above the closet. Nothing. Was I losing my mind? I needed to get out, clear my head. I drove to a nearby town, sat in a diner surrounded by people, but felt utterly alone. I kept glancing at shadows, half expecting to see that face. I realized it wasn't a dream. It was real. I had to go back. I had to know what was happening in that house. I couldn't run away. I needed answers. Returning to the farmhouse felt like walking into a trap, but I had to face it. I went straight to the bedroom, heart pounding. The closet looked ordinary, but I knew better. I dragged a chair over and climbed up, inspecting the top and ceiling. Nothing. I opened the closet, empty except for a musty smell. I knocked on the back wall, hollow. My heart skipped. There was something behind it. I grabbed a fire poker and pried at the old wood. The panel splintered, revealing a dark, empty space. Cold, stale air rushed out. I shone a flashlight inside, a narrow gap between walls thick with dust and cobwebs. In the far corner, I saw it, an old leather-bound diary. My hands shook as I pulled it out. The cover was cracked, no name. I opened it, searching for the truth. The diary's first entry was from 1975. A woman named Eleanor wrote about moving into the house with her husband, a carpenter who built her a special closet. At first she was happy, but soon her husband became controlling, cruel. He locked her in the bedroom, isolated her, made the house her prison. Her diary became her only friend. The final entry was frantic. He found my diary. He's angry. He's boarding up the window. If I love this room so much, I can stay forever. I have to hide. The only place he won't look is above the closet. My blood ran cold. She hid above the closet. I looked at the hole I'd made. That space wasn't for storage. It was a tomb. Eleanor had never left. My hands shook as I grabbed the flashlight and peered deeper into the hidden space. I aimed the beam upward, past where the diary had been. My breath caught. A body lay on a narrow plank, little more than a skeleton in tattered clothes. The skull was tilted down, empty eye sockets staring at the spot where my bed was. She had died there, watching. The cold spot, the feeling of being watched, the face. It was Eleanor. Trapped for decades, her spirit never left. I stumbled back, horror flooding me. The truth was worse than any nightmare. I wanted to run, to escape, but I couldn't move. I was frozen, haunted by her story. I had found her, but I didn't know what to do. I was part of her secret now. I tried to run, but the bedroom door wouldn't budge. It was locked tight. Panic seized me. I was trapped, just like Eleanor. The room grew colder. The sunlight dimmed. A whispering sigh filled the air. I looked up. Eleanor's face appeared above the closet, clearer than ever, sadness etched deep. But now, there was recognition in her eyes. Not a plea for help, a look of companionship. The whisper came again. Finally, I realized I wasn't her rescuer. I was her new roommate. The house had claimed me too. We were trapped together, forever. The perfect getaway had become a perfect prison, and the quiet would never end.